This episode of EVTV is brought to you by the Winston Battery Company Limited, makers of high-capacity lithium yttrium rare earth cells, including the popular 160 amp-hour model featuring cycle lives in excess of 5,000 cycles when discharged to 70%, the longest useful working life of any available battery of any chemistry. A leading battery technology scientist, inventor, and entrepreneur since 1995, Mr. Winston Chung envisions a new world of clean electric power for the dawn of a new era of electric vehicles. For your next electric vehicle design project, contact Winston Battery Limited. Energy for a bright future. Hello, I'm Jack Rickard. This is EVTV, Electric Vehicle Television. I'm here with my compadre and consigliere, El Bueno Noto. And I think
and my phone.
My phone.
We're all here.
Well, you know, Brain.
Well, all kinds of stuff. We're using a different set today.
You know why?
Because we just decided we're too damn tired to move.
We've been working on it all day, and I'm whipped. I gotta sit down.
I know, it's been a long week.
And it hadn't really. I've had a lot of fun this week. And what should I say? I'm not even too sure how to get started. We've got some themes we've been talking about, dropping little pigeon tracks about for the last year, and it's getting toward the end of the year.
It is. We're 4 weeks away from the new year.
Well, it's all starting to come together.
Is it? Okay.
And I look better every day, and everybody else looks worse.
It's looking pretty bad.
It's because they were kind of heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, was it easy to spot?
Yeah. Well, as you know, Brian, this is my second rodeo. We did pretty well the first time because they could read Boardwatch magazine. And it wasn't 100% accurate at telling the future, and it didn't tell it too far out into the future. But it got them 6 months, and a bunch of them made money with it. It's kind of the same thing again. I've got a feel for how this goes, and if it's wrong, it's like really wrong.
Yeah.
And they're starting to dive into the pool like lemmings and commit harikari. We got
cliff.
people, that were losing CEOs. Like the poor guy with Interdell.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he did get $250,000 severance and 20,000 shares of their stock.
Oh.
That's okay. He vested in the stock after dicking the company up.
Okay.
Except it's worth 9 cents a share right now.
Oh, well,
that's
$1,800. That's not even a down payment for anything.
Don't jump out of buildings and commit harikari. It's not that bad.
That's right.
It only seems like what you said it was, and it's not going to suit you, I'm sure. But it's going to work out just fine. You kind of have to pay attention. But it's all the wagons are being circled, and there's just an awful lot of pioneers with arrows in their backs because they were looking at the wrong target.
Okay, yeah, just wasn't right.
And it's bringing some changes for us that I'm not too sure how these are going to play out. Sudden windfalls and wind gusts in the direction of the guy at home with an electric car. Turns out, you guys, our viewers, I've known for some time, the reason I go through all this every week, and Brain does too, is we like you because we think you're really important. And everybody else thinks they're little and ugly, and their mother dresses them funny.
You guys are just stupid, according to them.
Yeah. They don't want
go
anything
away.
to do
Don't want to sell you anything. Nothing.
Don't even talk to them on the phone.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't respond to their emails. Those are unclean people.
That's right.
We want to sell to OEMs
yes.
and the masses.
Yeah, we got another email this week about that. Yeah, only, fully funded OEMs.
Fully funded OEMs.
Fully funded,
this is
not
from
just
a guy
a
who doesn't even have a product, but he only wants to sell the fully funded OEMs.
Yeah.
Gag me. I don't want to hear that anymore. This is just stupid.
Yeah.
I've been polite. It's not okay. You're saying a stupid thing in public, and it's embarrassing and humiliating by me for you.
That's right. We don't like that feeling.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, we don't like it.
Our viewers, the guys that are doing this, are the flag bearers, the apostles, and the whole movement.
Yeah.
There
Exactly.
isn't any other group, guys.
No, they have little
The
organizations
ones
and
that are
stuff
building
like
the cars, they're also the ones buying the Leafs and the Volts. I hate to break it to you.
that. Yeah.
It's the same guys.
Yeah.
It's always the same guys.
Yeah, 'cause they just want
Remember
everything
the
they
same
can get.
guys that built the internet.
Yeah, yeah, they
That's why I know them. Oh, let's go over some things. How do we get here?
right. What did we do?
November sales figures.
Oh, we got those in. All right.
Let's see. The Volt sold a stunning 1,139 copies of their automobile.
1,139.
The Leaf
Wow.
fell to 672.
Really?
And they don't even really have any good excuses or supply. They've run out of hurricanes.
Right.
They've run
The
out of
natural
factory
disasters, that's right,
reworks.
yeah, yep.
It's just
Leather shipments.
1,139 volts and 672 Leafs. That's what it is, guys. 6,142 volts for the year. 8,738 Leafs. But they have the luxury of being able to allude to 20,000 worldwide without any great specificity as
Right.
to where
just,
that was.
yeah, exactly. Not here.
It's just got to be bullshit on top of bullshit. Fisker
Oh, yeah.
is what's going on is really more. It is with the Volt and the Leaf, but it's more with some early problems with the battery guys, and it's going to spread like a cancer. What was the solar company out in California that they put a bunch of money into?
Not Solera, Cylindra.
Solyndra.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
Solyndra.
going to have a lot of Cylindras.
Yeah, stuff's going to happen.
You see, Inner One and Inner Dell,
Yeah.
they got several $100 million of federal funding. A123 got $259 million. Since our last show, they've announced a layoff of 125 people.
I read that,
in
yeah.
Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
Now, what do they do in Michigan? This is a U.S. battery maker, right?
Yeah, that's what we're told.
God, they lie through so both sides of their face so hard you can't even stand it. They assemble cells in Romulus and in another place in Michigan into modules for cars.
Okay.
And they're kind of a cool module. I showed you their little video
Right,
last week.
right, last week.
How they assemble them. Well, those cells come from Korea and China.
Oh, okay.
In Korea and China, they print on them, made in the USA.
Oh, wow. Isn't that
In the
against
case
some
of the
kind
ones I have
laws?
here, they have made in the USA and then a magic marker through the USA part. It says made in blob.
But it's only that
But
long.
you can see the
So
USA
just
through
in
it.
case they missed.
No,
or
you can see the letters through the magic
the magic marker was wearing out.
and they send those to Michigan. Now, let me ask you something about that. They get $259 million from the federal government to create jobs. They told the people of Michigan and the federal government they were going to build 5,000 jobs there. They were up to 900.
Oh, man.
In 2009, they promised 5,000 jobs by 2012. It's the end of 2011.
Yeah, and they're not going
And they're laying off 125.
Right, they're going in the wrong direction, too, yeah.
They got tax abatement in Michigan.
Oh, for Michigan.
In the city. They got a state grant. They got a federal grant of $259 million. Now, they lay off 125 people off their assembly line that are making modules for the Fisker. And they have to do this because the Fisker isn't taking the batteries as fast as they want it.
Yeah, right.
Now, these are people
Yep.
they have trained to assemble batteries.
Yeah.
They're trained people. They know
yeah.
the procedure, know the company. They sent them home. They've laid them off.
Ooh, wow.
Guess how much they would save over the next year from having laid off that 125 people?
I don't know how much.
Well, let's say they were paying them $50,000
50 grand,
each.
so would that be
A
6
pretty
million?
good job, wouldn't it?
6, 7 million bucks?
Yeah, $6.5 million.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, with hundreds
This
of millions
doesn't
of dollars.
even make any sense. Why are they bothering to lay them off?
Yeah, just keep them. What are you going to do? What if it all works?
For $6.5 million, I don't want to be thrown into the basket with Solyndra.
Right. Yeah.
What are you doing, A123? Here's Fisker. They had told A123 they were going to deliver 7,000 cars by the end of 2011.
Okay.
They delivered 1,500.
That's not 7,000.
It isn't. Why did they only deliver 1,500? Well, would you believe they had a flood that ruined some leather, and so they couldn't put the seats and the dashboards in. The other 5,500?
5,500, yeah.
Actually, it was about enough leather for 250 cars. There is no one in this game telling the truth about anything.
Jesus.
They
That's
are
amazing.
spinning everything in every direction so hard that it's hopeless to unwind all this stuff. They claim they're going to sell 15,000 in 2012. Their car now, it has become evident, gets 20 miles to the gallon once you kick in the motor.
Well, that's not very green.
It's not green at all.
I mean, they probably consider it brown.
Well,
pretty bad.
I don't think anybody's going to buy a
Jesus.
$95,000 car to be green when it gets 20 miles per
When it's
gallon.
not green, yeah.
Now, I had pictured all along, and I have talked about early adopters. This is, by the way, these are the only people that you're going to get to buy these cars for now.
For now, yeah. Especially if they're that amount of money.
And we'll talk about why here in a minute. But they're techie, they have money, maybe not a Brazilian dollars, but they can drive any car they want. Mm-hmm. And they have several usually. And they are typically environmentally concerned or angry about the balance of trade and the
Gas,
transfer of
everything
wealth
going,
to the
yep.
Middle East and
Yep.
so forth. Now that's what I think, and I think that they're like me. They like good rolling stock Porsches and Escalades and so forth. Mm-hmm. You came across an interesting study that would seem to tender a contra view. I'd like to hear more.
Well, what I found was a couple of economists. They happen to be a brother and a sister, and Stephen Sexton
one
and
of those
Allison
Egyptian things.
Sexton.
Ptolemies,
Trying to keep it in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've heard about that.
And the title of this paper, this was a draft in December 2010, was "Conspicuous Conservation: The Prius Effect," and WTP, and we'll find that here, for environmental bona fides. So what they're saying is that the Prius is a vehicle that people purchase to show other people, to signal to them, is the term that economists and psychologists use, that they're green. Mm-hmm. Part of the shape of the Prius, it ends up, is the reason that the Prius has this signal, because it doesn't look, a Honda looks like the regular Hondas, even if you have a hybrid Tahoe, it looks like a regular Tahoe.
So the Prius looks different from the rest of the Toyota line.
Exactly.
It looks like a hybrid Toyota.
It looks like a hybrid Toyota.
And it looks like an economy car.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
why are they selling so well?
Well, they're selling well because this signal, the people are willing to take a less, not buy a $100,000 car or a $75,000 car, buy a less expensive car that's green, that gives that signal that they care about the environment.
This is an interesting aspect I had not heretofore thought about. I should suffer for the planet, and here, lo, I visibly suffer before you.
Right. Yeah.
Driving this little car.
Driving the car, yeah.
That augurs very well for the Leaf. It looks like a miserable little car.
Yeah, it looks like a miserable. But
I carry on about this. Me personally, I can assure you, I'd have a ball driving a Volt or a Leaf, either one.
Yeah. Get you where you're going. Be a lot
Peter
of fun.
McQuaid likes his Leaf.
He likes his Leaf, yeah.
Fred Baining likes his Leaf.
Yeah, we've got our people came to our attendees have Leafs.
This is like we're from another planet. No, the people that watch this show, the people that build these electric cars, the people that tinker, that's the only market there is.
But there really is. Right now, it's so early.
Unless you want to give away your cars to movie stars like Leonardo DiCaprio, hoping someone will emulate it. Right. They're trying to get a buzz going. They're trying to get the spin going. They don't understand even the drivers. But this is a new one on me.
And what's interesting, too, is there is a point of price resistance. I mean, you will be green up to a point.
Oh, well, no, I've always known about that.
And when it comes to cost,
what I didn't know was that you would slum to appear green.
And there is another thing in here that was kind of interesting. It has nothing to do with electric vehicles, but apparently that there is a they're saying that that the status that's conferred upon demonstration of environmentally friendliness is
environmental bona fides.
Bona fides, yes, are sufficient that homeowners and I couldn't find the data to back this up, but it is in this paper. Is that people are known that install solar panels to put them on the shady side of the house, thereby getting less energy capture if that side of the house is on the street side.
Because they want
people to see.
Curb appeal.
Yes, they want people to see.
They want, when you pull up in front of the house, to see their environmental bona fides.
Right.
And their solar panels, even if it's on the wrong side of the roof.
Even if it's covered by tree limbs.
So this is another driver for electric cars that would imply some economy models would be appropriate for some posers in the what I would think is posers in the environmental. So it puts the solar panels on the wrong side of the roof, Brian, and drives a economy car when they could be driving a Bentley. This doesn't work for me. They're not real, but they could be a real segment.
They could be. It's a segment of the market.
I personally wouldn't. That they make my skin crawl has nothing to do with whether they're
right. Yeah,
reality or not.
Yeah, and it gets even deeper because some of this was in Berkeley and in Seattle, Washington, places that are not nearly as sunny. Some of these things when they were talking about the solar panels. Where a place like, let's say, Palm Springs or something, or some other place in the desert, Barstow, you don't get any of that signal. You don't get any of the bona fide out of it. So a lot of the places where solar panels are selling very well, San Diego, Berkeley, places
the
like
next thing we're going to have is fake solar panels.
Well, you know what's funny?
That are less expensive but look just like solar panels.
You know what's funny you asked that because I was digging around looking for information. And apparently this guy doesn't do this anymore. He has this thing that's called hybridsomething.com, and the website's gone. And he just sold a little hybrid, the badge, the plaque for your car for $5, just so you could throw it on your Escalade or throw it on
get into the HOV lane.
Get into the HOV lane, exactly, with your hybrid. So yeah, there's all kinds of, if not sheer fantasy, at least fun going on.
There's some other information that's kind of interesting. I've been panning the Volt. First, it's not an electric car. Electric cars don't have a place to put gas.
No, and their ads have been kind of backing down from that electric position recently.
So I've been twisting their tail on that, but it's still, apparently pretty nice car. They've only sold 6,142 of them. Of course, they're $43,000 against the $17,000 for a Cruise. Oh, they've announced they're going to do a Chevy Cruise hybrid. I don't even get this. What is a Volt?
I thought the Volt is.
It makes no sense.
Huh. Interesting.
The people in General Motors are actually at this point simply blathering nonsense. They're
coming out of
just
every orifice.
saying random things. Random people are just saying random things.
Anybody
within the corporation.
just say something.
This is like, a corporation going into fibrillation or something.
Quick, get the paddles.
The interesting thing about this, Consumer Reports, I have followed since the 70s. They do primary research on product quality and consumers' reaction to product quality. And, some of their stuff is controversial. Some of it isn't the way I would test it, but they've been dedicated to this for many, many years.
Yep, they sure have.
They do a survey I call the Would You Do It Again survey. They call it the Customer Satisfaction Survey for new car buyers. But the question they ask them is, and now that you've had your car for a couple of months, would you make this purchase again?
Okay,
Or do you wish you hadn't?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's actually a very good question.
Yeah.
Guess who came out at the very top of their most recent survey? Would you do it again survey?
I don't know. Huh.
Chevy Volt.
Really?
93% of the buyers said they would buy it again.
Okay.
Dodge Challenger and Porsche 911 were second at 91%.
Okay.
By the way, if you have bought a Chevrolet Aveo, my sympathies, they're in the 37% range. So there's not a big Chevy bias here.
Yeah.
But the Volt is 93% of the Volt buyers are happy. We have a great divide going on out there. I'm on some little forums in LinkedIn. I don't do forums very much anymore, but I've been following some of these because they're kind of fresh meat. These are guys not really in it.
Right.
And but they're talking about it a lot. And some of them are talking about a lot of things they know nothing about.
Okay, well, yeah.
One guy is a great EV booster. He's never been in an EV, but he is just very, very optimistic and everything. And he's always quoting numbers and stuff that are possibly optimistic and never going to happen. But hope. Hope springs eternal.
Springs eternal.
So it's an interesting crowd on LinkedIn. Some of them, but it's they have whole conversations with none of them having been in an electric car.
Wow.
And so we have this great divide, Brian, and that is between the people who drive electric cars and know about them and the ones that don't. Our automobile and our relationship to it is much more complicated than these people are professing. And I'm surprised that people in the automotive business, unless they're just purely manipulating, don't show much cognizance.
Yeah, just kind of missed that, huh? Yeah.
My earliest leanings here in recent years was kind of a deep-seated anger over gasoline and gasoline prices and gyrations. And I kind of caught them in a couple of things that were clearly manipulations. For profit.
For profit, yeah.
Not really the vagaries of the oil thing. And I got angry about it. And I'm the kind of guy, I'll cut my nose off, spike my face. Well, I just won't buy your damn gasoline anymore. I'll walk if I have to. I'll ride a bicycle or something like that. I'll do something. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. You see, our relationship with the car may be the man's greatest invention, believe it or not. I mean, it seems pretty ordinary, but it is it allows us to extend our home environment, an environment bubble that we have control of, and project it into the world. It's not about getting there. This is not about transportation. It's about managing an environment bubble that has to do with whether you're too hot, too cold, too bright, too dim, being attacked by knife or gun, or being safe inside your cocoon.
Right.
And having control of your own little environment like you do in your home, but being able to project that out into the world and go to different places.
Yeah.
And when you stop and think about the implications of that, for individual empowerment and for productivity. And you kind of see a lot of the whole U.S. vis-a-vis the rest of the world, the wealth thing really has to do with our ability to produce goods and stuff in a way per capita at a much different pace, because we don't have to hook a goat up to a cart in the morning before we start.
That's right. Yeah, and people are worried about charging their car.
By cell phone, by the internet, by the personal computer. These are all magnifiers, but it starts with this ability to move in a car. The people who we've crossed a threshold of viability, disruptive technology, circa 2007, 2008. It happened. When you write the history, that's when it happened. Not when Professor John Goodenough and his minions enabled it, but when it became available for cars.
Right.
In 2007, 2008. It caused a jump, a crossing of a threshold of viability, where the car went from being a science project to being an automobile.
To being a real car.
When you can go 80 miles.
Transparent,
Most of where you go would be encompassed in that. If we go from 80 miles range to 800 miles range, it will not have the same impact.
It has that first 80 miles.
It's the first 80 miles that counts.
Yeah.
And so we have a superclass, a very tiny set of people who are enabled by this and can freely, at any time, go to their garage, get in their car, and drive off anywhere they want, do anything they want, and return without buying gasoline or going to a gas station in silence and with no further expenditures, really.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Once they've
Once you got the vehicle.
bought these batteries.
Right. Once you got the vehicle with the lithium batteries.
The lead acid debate. Everybody that's done the conversion, no one's ever come back to me and said, well, now that I got the lithiums, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I'm going back to lead acid.
No, it's not. One's a science project, one's a car. In order for people nationally or worldwide to adopt these electric cars with their perceived limitations, these guys go on and on and on about range anxiety. I don't have any range anxiety.
No.
Do you have any rain?
No.
Are you laying awake nights about rain?
No, not at all.
Now, it's true. It would be more of an issue in Denver or in Atlanta than where we live. But this is only an issue for people that don't have the cars and don't know squat about them. They debate range. They talk about charging infrastructure. The people with the cars don't talk about that. They talk about heaters.
Air conditioning,
heating,
stereos.
And instrumentation. And, there are some issues. They're just not the ones you think. And so, it's the 12 blind men around the elephant trying to describe what it looks like. The only solution for this is firsthand approximation. You need to be around the car yourself.
Be around the car, get in the car, drive it. Absolutely.
Well, and this is how we can resolve 1,139 volts sold in November, but 93% of the people that buy them love them.
Love them. Yeah.
Have you heard from any unhappy Leaf owners? I've heard that the EPA rates it at 62 miles total charge, and a lot of people are unhappy about that. None of them have Leafs.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody unhappy about this government number.
Yeah, and they don't have a Leaf.
I have not heard from a single Leaf owner that said, oh my God, this is there. In fact, one guy went 132 miles on a charge, hypermilling.
Okay.
Which is kind of a sport. And it's fun, by
it's
the way.
fun. Yeah, that's right. Saturday afternoon, go out
just
hypermiling.
See how far you can go. The Volt beat out the Porsche 911 with Consumer Reports.
Isn't that amazing? Wow.
However, here's the heart of it. These people lie so bad, that everybody knows that whatever General Motors says and whatever Fisker says and whatever any of these people say is, you know how you can tell when they're lying?
No, how?
Their lips are moving.
Lips are moving, okay.
Nobody's going to spend $40,000 on an electric car until I see you do it.
Right.
And you show me
And
yours.
I tell you.
You show me yours, and then I'll show you mine.
That's right. You first. I'm right behind you.
That's how this is.
Yep.
Enter our viewers, the people who are already enthusiasts about electric car. That's all you got, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you have to demonstrate. I think you ought to be giving them electric cars.
Yeah, exactly. Send them out as apostles. Here,
Exactly.
take this. Show it to people.
Yeah, so that's what's going on there. Meanwhile, the industry is starting to collapse on itself. We're finding these A123 cells. The price is dropping daily.
Yeah,
I still haven't got a module done, and some problems with that so far. And already, so now the Interdel cells. I'll put a picture one up on the screen. These are a 30 amp hour pouch.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. That's pretty good. Yeah.
485 grams, actually 10 grams lighter than the A123 20 amp hour cell.
For 10 more amps, wow.
For 50% more storage.
Wow.
And 15C current output, which ain't turkey.
No.
And Interdel, trading at 9 cents over the counter, has just gotten an $8.5 million funding for them to do a business plan, try to see if there's life after their collapse.
Yeah.
Turns out it was worse than I thought. They didn't put 59 million in, think 90 million invested in the company.
Oh,
and they had spotted 37 or 39 million dollars worth of batteries with them on credit.
Oh man.
It's over $100 million of their investors' money, and they're going to wind up going to court over this.
Holy moly!
A huge, stock court case there, class action suit, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But meanwhile, they're putting a 30 amp cell is showing up through Alibaba in China. 37, 38 bucks for a 30 amp hour cell, onesie twosie.
Yeah.
That weighs 495 grams. Why am I not jumping up and down over this cell? And we are going to look at it. Probably do a module for it. It's attractive, a 50% bump in density. God, I love it.
Yeah.
This cell is a lithium manganese oxide spinel and lithium titanate, which gets very close to something very cool for me. The most magic element in the world is not really lithium.
I know which one it is, that's right.
There is a magic material.
There really is some fairy dust. Yeah, that's right.
It's fairy dust. The magic material that in the next century you will hear more and more about as more and more is learned about it is titanium. And its main form is titanium dioxide. And this has the potential to change everything. I can make hydrogen now. Not to run my car with an H2O hydrolysis thing.
Yeah, right.
I can make hydrogen right now with sunlight, water, and titanium dioxide without any electricity and no moving parts. And that's what I was doing when I got off on this electric car thing.
That's right.
Titanium dioxide is magic dust.
Yep.
And so this is kind of interesting. Altair Nano, another battery maker, makes a anode material on the other side that is lithium titanate, which is the titanium dioxide spinel, which is the crystalline structure. on the anode side. And so Inter1 or Interdel has a very interesting way of getting quite a bit of energy in a pretty light package. However, on the cathode side, there's still a metal oxide, a rusted metal, and that is manganese oxide, the lesser of the two known evils, cobalt manganese. And interestingly, the Leaf and the Volt both use manganese oxide cathodes.
Okay, cathode, yeah.
Speaking of which, the fire, with 93% of Volt owners, really well done. General Motors, as we've said, had the fire at Sparky up there in Connecticut. Then they had one in South Carolina, and they're just spraying in all directions that it doesn't have. There was another thing on Autoblog Green that it has nothing to do with the volt and charging, and they know this because the Siemens charger was still reporting temperature going up while it's charging.
Okay, but it's still charging.
It's still charging. Yeah, that's what causes the fire.
It's still charging.
I can show you how to do this.
Oh, yeah, we did.
This is not hard. You can try this at home. Yes. You're not going to like it, but I'll show you how. They still don't get it.
Yeah.
The 2 volt fires were volt fires, guys. Whatever their lips were saying, that's what they were.
Yeah.
And then they had a crash test.
Yeah. Yeah.
At last June, that 3 weeks later, and they've simply hidden this information for months.
Yeah, that was last June.
It sprung into fire 3 weeks later.
Yeah, 3 weeks later, spontaneously.
General Motors is boned up to this, released the information publicly, and teamed with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which was going to out them anyway.
Hey, that's right. You do it first.
You can tell them, or we can tell them.
It's your party, guys. Either way.
We don't care. We're from the government. We're here to help.
That's right.
So General Motors has made this announcement and teamed up with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to determine what the cause is. And so they reenacted the crash test.
This has got to be good.
Thanksgiving Day, the Volt sprang into fire again.
Did it out in the parking lot again?
It's burning again.
Hopefully this time they put it by itself, or they take it with it?
Yeah, I didn't take any other cars with it, but they had the fire again.
Oh my God.
And so the head of General Motors first comes out and says, anybody that's concerned about the Volt can bring it in, and we'll give you a cruise or something for you to drive until all this is settled.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, he's come out and said anybody that is at all concerned about the fires with the Volt can bring it in, and we'll give you your money back.
Yeah.
A very generous offer.
Yeah. Who is the CEO? Dan Ackerson. Yeah, of GM. Yeah. That you'll just buy it back from you, I guess. Can you believe that?
I would love to have a 50% bump in energy capacity. And I'd even like to have the 10 or 12% that they sold their soul for.
Yeah.
However, read my lips, guys. This is not, all of our viewers have this totally unrealistic view of General Motors and the OEMs and their labs and their very, very smart engineers with the best solid works and with the teams of people and the resources to do it. It's usually in a corporation like that, a bunch of clowns standing around watching one or two guys work. I used to be one or two. In the defense industry, the rest of them are clowns. They couldn't do anything. They can barely get dressed. Their wives have to bring them to work, I'm telling you. And the corporation acts like a filter to keep the clowns and get rid of anybody that can do any work. To move on and do their own thing.
And start their own company.
Exactly. And that's just the way corporations work. They're a filter mechanism. Yeah. Whoever's left there is the clowns. Because they can't go anywhere else. There's no magic there. All the test equipment they have, you can get. You can actually do the test without all that equipment.
All that, yeah.
Now listen to me. I have been saying LiFePO 4 for 3 years. It's not because I own stock in LiFePO 4 land.
That's right.
There is no such thing.
No.
I don't know Professor John good enough. I've never met any of these Chinese guys, and I don't sell batteries.
No, we don't sell any batteries.
For automotive purposes, the LiFePO 4 cell is inherently safer and more stable. And understand this: internal resistance and equivalent series resistance, circuit diagrammer, gypsy queens. A battery is not an electrical device of any kind. It has no relationship to electronics, semiconductors, or electricity. They're a chemical device.
Yeah.
And they can be a finicky chemical device.
Yeah, they can take on life of their own.
People will tell you electrochemical. Forget the electro part. They do emit electrons. That's why we have batteries. That's not what they are. They are a slow-burning fire.
Yeah.
And an energy storage thing. And by the way, there is going to be fires and mishaps with any concentrated energy storage medium.
Yeah.
Batteries being somewhat safer than most, actually. But in the case of something that is enough energy to run your house for 2 days,
It's a lot of energy.
or 3 days,
Yeah, it's a lot of energy.
30, 35 kilowatt hour pack. Most of you are using 8 kilowatts a day in your house. The proper chemistry is, so far, the proper chemistry and the safest chemistry and the most benign chemistry that has been found so far is a lithium iron phosphate cathode with a carbon anode with some fairly benign organic solvents and a lithium salt as the
It's
electrolyte.
the electrolyte, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Now, we're constantly reading and I'm constantly watching, and I'm very excited about some new things that are coming. But they first have to do no harm, and that means not burn my friggin' house to the ground while I'm sleeping.
That's right, yeah, while you just plugged it in and walked away.
If they burn my shop to the ground while I'm there, Brian went and bought me 3 more fire extinguishers, so I'm getting better there.
You're getting better, that's right.
But
We can put 'em out.
that's the case. So the part I'd like to get across is we're going to see some very strange things. Some of them are going to be quite discouraging.
Yeah.
Companies going down in flames. There's going to be a huge backlash because of all the money that went into these
Lot of money.
alternate energy things. Interdel cannot be recovered. A123 touch and go, probably gone. Fisker is not going to make it. That'll probably take Coda with them. Tesla, I still think, is going to make it, but they're going to be caught in the backwash of all of this.
Yeah.
And they're using a battery I don't approve of. It's a cobalt oxide cell. Panasonic makes it. Yeah, I know they're all smarter than I am. Think LiFePO 4. And so we're going to have some opportunities picking up increasingly in the future parts from failed automakers and batteries from failed battery makers.
That's right, they've got to sell to somebody.
I don't want to spend a lot of time designing a module for Interdel batteries when there won't be an Interdel to get the batteries
So
from.
it can be for continuous
that's
supply,
kind of,
yeah.
But we're going to take a look at them. There's always some good news. But what I've been telling you is coming to pass. And I'm going to crow about it. If you can't play your own tune, who else knows a tune? Blow your own horn. I told you all this would have happened. It's happened. It's a bloodbath in the OEMs. Does it have to be? It's going to be slow. If they want to sell the cars, they have to have apostles and flag wavers And the place to go find them is the people that are already electric vehicle enthusiasts. They need to win them over, get them driving their product, and get it demonstrated. And that's the big thing, is how can you assure me that I can make this transition to an electric drive car at a higher price?
Yeah, at a premium, yeah.
And most of the public, by the way, is very amenable to this message.
Yeah, I think so.
I've never run into anybody that are like, yeah, I don't know electric cars. That's a fact.
No, I think most people are very, very, very understanding and amenable to this proposition.
We get a very warm reception and a lot of inquiries from people all over the place about the electric cars. Does that mean they want to run out and spend $100 grand and have one?
No.
Well, show me a little bit. How does that work? How does this work? Where do you charge them? They have questions. Unfortunately, they also have a belief system failure in that they don't know who would be trustworthy to believe.
Right, yeah.
They know their brother probably wouldn't lie to them.
Yeah.
Their dad might not.
Yeah, that's right.
And after that, it's sort of,
it starts to get
ever
sketchy.
since Bill Clinton and the dress, it's been kind of up in the air. What
tough.
is.
What is. Define is.
And so we got Howard Kane now.
Oh, poor Herman. Yeah, geez, that's a damn mess. Yikes.
So it's okay to say anything if you're in public, apparently. It's not okay at my house, and it's not okay on EVTV. There's no real penalty for telling the truth, guys. Sometimes it looks like you're at a disadvantage. It usually turns into a power stroke.
Yeah.
And works out for you.
Yeah.
You do not have to lie to make a living. So that's the numbers. I think what they're going to have to do is people are going to have to, it's going to take 10 or 12 years for them to become acculturated while the technology develops and improves.
Right.
And that's what I look to have happen. And I think that if Volt sticks with it, they sold 6142 through November, maybe 7,500 in 2011.
Right.
Hey, sell 12,000 in 2012 and keep after it.
Yeah, just keep doing it.
And believe it or not, at some point it will reach a tipping point. And this stuff is good for everybody, including the OEMs. They don't know it yet, but their business model will work better with this in the long run.
In the long run, yeah.
It's just so. And so the planned obsolescence is on shaky ground. I think there's some changes, but we're going to have very expensive cars, but there'll be cars you can have for a
long time. Yeah.
Lee Moorhead, Denton, Texas. What have you got me into? Brain, what have we been doing this week?
We have pretty much been working on the Swallow here. We've last week when we showed you what it looked like, we had.
What's going on with my clutch here?
Well, we've got one now. We've got a hydraulic clutch. The clutches. There's a new throwout bearing back there.
How about brakes?
We have a brake system that is doesn't have any leaks. It's bled. It's actually completed. We've got.
You have beautiful new stainless hoses.
We have all the rubber hoses were replaced with braided steel hoses.
New.
We did wheel bearings, seals in the front. With the rotors were in good shape.
We had
them turned.
Drums and rotors.
Drums and rotors turned.
We got new pads.
I've got new pads.
New bearings.
New bearings and seals. Yep.
And we're like smoking.
Yeah. The brake system, new wheel.
Right here looks like a brand new MEAS brake transducer block right there on the car.
Yep.
I love it. I like it and I love it. Your little broken thing. Turns out, we're told, that doesn't really hold the back end on it. It just holds the pan up.
It holds the pan. It's a support for the pan.
Well, a big guy like me, we don't want that pan falling through it.
No, so he's fine. So that was welded up. In fact, today, late this morning, we had Danny come in here from the race team and do some nice welding for us.
Yeah, he did. What else have we got here? In our goodie bag, your batteries are in lead, but here is something I found that I think you're going to like. This isn't the one.
We put in one that
It had a soft body, but
Yeah.
it is a truck light LED turn and signal and brake light.
Okay, oh,
and
cool.
it's an exact match for what they had in the body.
it fits, I guess those truck
Except
parts.
it's LED.
Yeah, I think those truck parts there, they just make them exactly to fit. That's really nice. Yeah.
You sent us a, what do we call it, DC to DC converter?
Yes.
And we're not going to use it because we found a good place right here for these two little Chinooks that I have tested. They kick out about 63 amps
Okay, that's,
and try to protect themselves. And if you drop the load back below 60, they come back on.
Okay.
And they'll hold 12 volts to 45 amps, but they're small.
yeah, and that's a good spot up there on that tray, yeah.
And we got it up here on this tray, actually, under the steering, and it's a perfect fit. Brain put me a little gland nut here, because he had to run this cable for the brake transducer back.
Yep, and it's running through there.
This is our wires for, to go to the pack. We're gonna have
pack, yep.
orange with the pack voltage.
Right.
Brown with the pack return.
Yep.
Red is gonna be our
12
12
volt.
volts back.
And then just a chassis ground.
And the ground, we're just gonna hook up to the ground. What we're trying to do, Lee, is actually, you had your car kind of woven in and out with the body. The controller was mounted on the body.
Yeah, DC converter was on the body, yeah.
We're gonna try to make this where this car almost could be driven without the body. And then we're gonna put the body
Put the
back
body on, yeah.
And hook up a few things like your dash instruments and your turn signal.
Mostly just wiring. We've got it now so that before the cabling went through the body, the wiring loom, that's still going to be part of the body because there's nothing you can do with it. But we've got all these wires running through the tunnel, which is a big empty space in this vehicle. And we put some gland nuts here. This was a big hole. That's where the stock shifter was.
It's a great little piece of flashing there with three gland nuts, one for each cable, and one to handle various things from the DC to DC converter.
Yeah, mostly from that, yeah.
We've already connected the positive to my battery box, which is an inspired piece of work. This will be to the negative, and this will be our 12 volt. And we will put a 12 volt terminal block up here somewhere. Again, I'm going to try not to mount them on the body. We're going to have all this kind of self-supporting in the pan where we can set the body over it and it'll still work. How about our tires?
Yeah, we've got the Acopias mounted up on there.
And it looks like a car instead of a toy.
Yeah, those are nice tires.
The little Toyota
They really are.
just look like a toy car. This is starting to look good now. I like this. Brain also put me a couple of gland nuts back here where our cables, we'll probably use 1/0, although this does 650 amp. We might use 2, but I think 1/0 because it's easy to work with. He's got me 2 gland nuts mounted there, hard mounted. Where's my shelf we're going to put here?
Oh, let's see. They were cleaning up stuff here. What do we, here.
They clean it out.
Yeah, there we go.
This is stuff we discovered on the Cobra. It's a very lightweight aluminum honeycomb, but very stiff. And we're going to make a little shelf that goes across here. And your controller and your contactor and some stuff. Now it's not going to project quite that.
No, we'll probably have it go a little bit back because what we're going to have here, is we're going to fabricate a little roll bar that's going to stay lower than shoulder height because we're going to put some 4-point harnesses in the car.
I think you need real. I was okay bailing on the roll bar, but let's have some real.
Yeah, and we're going to have to give him just a support, because those seat belts go, into a support like that.
So we're going to make a shelf here that the controller will sit on, the contactor will sit on. I don't know what all else, but it's actually going to act like a big heat sink for the controller.
Yeah, just look at all that air through here. Yeah.
Not go to the expense and complication of liquid cooling on that controller. And we've seen that done well, for example, on the Spider, but you do have to have good airflow and a good heat sink.
And a good heat sink, yeah.
And I think this will just do great.
Yeah, look at that airflow, it'll get through it, yeah.
And so it'll be all the way across, and that'll be that. Again, we've got new brake hoses here.
Yeah, we put in the steel braided hoses back here.
Good.
Yep, and here's our from our transducer. They'll go up to our controller, run through the tunnel, through a grommet there in the chassis.
That's our brake transducer.
That's the brake transducer.
That'll go right to the controller, and so we'll have our braking, which I think you're really going to like, regenerative braking on this vehicle, and so that's going to be kind of cool. We're still waiting for the motor controller. Your batteries, I'm going to have to kind of walk you through this over here, maybe with a close-up, but I've been working on kind of a prototype battery box that's on this side, and there's going to be another one on that. Those white pieces, what do you call that? That's it's like a recycled
plastic decking. Yeah, these were actually like boards. If you wanted to just do plastic boards.
They're really plastic.
Yeah.
They never degrade or anything.
No.
So we like using porch decking because it's cheap, plastic, insulated, and it lasts forever.
Yeah, there's no way that
it'll choke a whale. Kill them dead.
Yeah, there's no way that if water did get on that tray, that's ever going to degrade. Yeah.
This 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cells in this box. We got you some polycarbonate on the top, but the big innovation is I'm making you little connectors out of copper. That here's a terminal on the side of the box connected to the cell with copper. Then I've got a little copper piece here that goes to a terminal strip here. That's a store-bought one. This is your wire to your DC to DC converter. That's where the cable's going to come up, and it'll go right to here. There isn't going to be enough cable up here to do anything.
No, it's just going to run. We can probably a few feet of cable in this car.
This is an interesting thing. It's part of my battery box. We're going to have another box over there with 18 cells.
Yeah, right
and
along
in between the two boxes, Brain, would you demonstrate? We have some
aluminum and some angles. Yeah.
There'll be another piece over there. There's going to be how many up here?
Seven cells.
7 cells. Another piece of polycarbonate here going down the tunnel for a total of 38 cells. I've wanted to do this with this controller for some time. It actually pops off at 130.
Yeah.
We'll try to charge to 132. It should come out at 126. And that'll get him just a little bit more range, but still using these 100 amp cells. And I think it's going to work out very well. So you'll have a box there, box here, and a kind of a box formed by the two boxes with some extra material here. And we'll have 7 cells on top of this, and then some more polycarbonate here. There's the other box. We're revisiting that.
Yes.
And so it'll have 8.
We have 2 rows of 9, have 18.
We had some extra cells in there.
Yeah.
And it got into your body.
Yeah, there's a big box seal.
Where we had to put the body on, then put the box in. I said, no, let's assemble. I want all this to go together and be demonstrably operational before we ever put a body on. This car is going to actually be something you could drive without the body. And once we get all that working, then we'll set the body on it and work on some instrumentation.
Yeah, really at that point, we hook up the steering, the instrumentation, the interior and stuff.
Lights.
And
we can have an interior done, maybe a little seat work and stuff, and we'll be ready to go. We've got the clutch, working, the brakes working, all your running gear redone, re-greased, re-sealed, new tires. The pan has been corrosion controlled and new black paint on it, and we're going to try to work out something with the headlights. Already got something with the tail lights.
Got tail lights, yeah, LED, yep.
And it's going to be a cool little car, actually.
I think it's going to be a great car, yeah.
What else do we need to do to this thing? Oh, I've got Xantrex LinkPro, and that's going to be your meter. I've got a little box made for that, and let's go to the whiteboard and talk about that. Let me tell them my latest LinkPro theory and how that's working out for me.
Okay.
And did on the, because Brian Anderson's going to have some questions about that on the Cobra.
Okay.
And let's show them what we did there and what we're going to do here.
Okay.
NetGain Motors, home of the Warp, Transwarp, and Impulse motors, introduced the improved Warp 9 motor. The Warp 9 is a 9 1/4 diameter series wound DC motor with a double-ended shaft featuring 26 improvements for 2010. Externally, the terminal studs have been enlarged from 3/8 to 1/2 inch diameter. Bigger is better. On the inside, a larger commutator, new brush composition, and split brush design with heavier springs handle even higher voltages and currents than before. Our new fan increases airflow by almost 50% over typical paddle-style fans, and all this translates into improved performance. For even more performance or larger applications, take a look at NetGain's Warp 11 motor, an 11 3/4 diameter series wound DC motor for even greater torque and power. Since 2002, NetGain Motors has been leading the EV industry with precision, performance, and price. Visit us at go-ev.com. NetGain Motors, warp power to go.
All right, let's talk about Xantrex LinkPro strategy number 7. We've wrestled with this. This is a little enclosure with a gland nut and a little circuit board, a bunch of wires coming out of it. That we're going to use with the Xantrex. We almost have to do a whole circuit for this thing, which should already do what we want to do anyway. The back of the Xantrex has a little terminal board, which I have reproduced here, marked in the same way, in the same direction. This has some little bitty screws and little bitty holes. We have gone to using a bell wire, a little bitty, like 20 gauge bell wire, single stranded, and that's the only thing I can stick in there and tighten down and get to hold. And so a lot of the problems we've had with the Xantrex has been this terminal board. We've got it working now. The other problem we've had is powering it. They have a 5 to 1 and a 10 to 1 and all this. It's not really been working out for us. So we've kind of done our own thing here, and let's talk about the power. I'm using here a Murata NML 1212SC, little bitty device on our circuit board. What it is a 1 kilovolt isolated 12 to 12 volt DC to DC converter. It's 2 watts. This Xantrex doesn't use anything in the way of power, about 60, 70 milliamps with the backlight, and this is 2 watts. It'll put out 185 milliamps, something like that. The most important thing it does is provide 1 kilovolt, 1,000 volts of isolation. And the reason for that is we're going to measure our pack voltages, and we want to keep them out of our 12 volt supply. And this is a classic case of instrumentation where if you overlook this, you wind up with a leak from your pack to ground. And this DC to DC converter will do it. 12 volts is sort of a minimal that the LinkPro will operate on, but we've got it working on it. You could go 12 to 24, but it doesn't matter. The 12 volt works fine. We're going to bring in our automotive 12 volt and ground, and that goes to 2 pins of this little device. The 2 output pins are likewise 12 volt and ground, and we're going to tie them to plus and minus. So 12 volts goes to the plus, and the minus here is our return for 12 volts, and that powers our Xantrex. Now let's talk about pack voltage. We're going to bring in our pack positive through I actually have two 50K 1 watt resistors, but let's call this 100K pot. This is the 100K resistor. This is a 5K pot. And that's tied to the pack minus. This is a very low value of current going through here. It'd be a milliamp if you had 100 volts, 2 milliamps if you had 200. But it's a 10-to-1 drop down, and the LinkPro now does, the Xantrex LinkPro now has a setting that you can select for a 10-to-1 voltage reading. And what that means is we can step our voltage down 10-to-1 and read up to 35 volts here at our VM, and that will appear as voltage on your Xantrex. So we could do up to 350 volts with this. Here's the trick. It still has to be compared to minus. And so we have in our little box, because if you try to put two wires in one of these little holes, it doesn't work, so I've tied them together in the box. And so we have one wire to the negative, but it's actually tied to our pack return and our return on the 12 volt converter. So our output of our DC to DC converter is in keeping with the pack. The negative terminal of the pack, the negative terminal of this 12 volts are at the same potential. However, it's isolated from our regular 12 volts, and so we don't have the leak to ground. In this way, we can power our Xantrex from 12 volts from our DC to DC converter in the car, and we can measure a voltage at 10-to-1 and get an accurate, the pots here, simply put a DVM across your pack and adjust for your Xantrex to read an accurate voltage with it fully charged, and you'll be close enough for government work. Brandon Hollinger, our contest winner from last year, had a question about A1, A2. You can set this, these are two terminals on a relay in the Xantrex, and you can set it to go off at any number of things. For example, you could set it to go off at a certain amp hour level or a certain percent state of charge. You tell the Xantrex, hey, I've got 180 amp hour cells, and at 15% state of charge remaining, which would be 85%, I want you to close these two relays, and it will do it. What we do is take our pedal, our Hall effect pedal output, and we go through a 100 ohm resistor, and I think it was like a 500 ohm pot. Might have been a 5K pot, but I think it was 500 ohm pot to A2, and we tie A1 to the pedal return. Now, what that looks like, your pedal gets 5 volts, it gets a return, and inside, it's like a pot, but it's not really a pot, and it gives you a 0 to 5 volt signal. Now that goes to your controller, which inside, of course, the return is grounded and it's compared to this signal. What we're doing is putting a parallel resistance across this that then cuts this signal down. And we can adjust this pot to decrease the signal itself. What does that do? I can adjust that pot where the car at full pedal only goes 25 miles an hour. And so when the battery gets down to 15% state of charge or 20% state of charge, whatever I want it to be, then this relay closes and it connects our pedal through these resistances to ground, and you simply play with the pot to get the level you want for the car. I also put a switch across here to test that. So I can flip the switch and adjust the pot and get the car feel right, and then flip the switch off. Well, that can serve as a valet switch. When you park the car at a restaurant or something, or a hotel, you can simply let them drive your electric car, but you flip this kind of hidden switch, and they can only drive at 25 miles an hour. They'll be pretty unimpressed with electric cars, but they won't be doing wheelies in the parking lot either. And but we call this the daughter mode. When you get down so far in your battery, A1 and A2 closes, and it slows the car down. It still operates. You can get out of an intersection. You can creep off the interstate. You can even take it home. But what you can't do is make it go very fast, because the pedal input has been cut. Whatever the controller is trying to do, it thinks that it has a half of the, or a quarter of the input, that instead of, if this is normally a 1.5 volt signal, you're getting 0.35 volts or something. You have to step on it completely, put a 5 volt out to get a 1 volt signal into your controller. And so they have to stomp on the accelerator to get it to go 25 miles an hour. If your pack gets down to 80% and you light a light, they can ignore the light. If you sound a buzzer, they can ignore the buzzer. They can't ignore the fact that the car will only go 20 miles an hour. But I don't like to disable the car completely to save the batteries, because they might be in a situation where they need to get out of the intersection, get over into a parking lot or the gas station or something. And I don't care if they spend $50 and call the flatbed, save my batteries. And so that's why we call it daughter mode. You can loan your car to your daughter with that. Brandon's wanting to implement that, wanted to know what this was. The other end of the pot isn't connected to anything. We're just doing a variable resistance from our signal, and just in parallel with it, the signal still goes directly to the controller, and the return still goes directly to the controller. We're just spliced in here and doing a little parallel bypass from the signal to the return is in parallel with whatever resistance is in here, and so we would have half of the signal. And so this is just a little circuit to get the Xantrex to work. We've had problems powering it in the past. These little 2-watt 12 volt converters and running off our 12 volt system seems to be working best right now. But this is what you get with that 10-to-1 kit, is really like 100K pot, 5K pot, 100K resistor, and then you simply run that in a VM. But you do have to take the pack negative, be in common with your power. And so we've tied that together in a little box. So it works fine. Back to you, Chet.
NetGain Controls introduces the new Warp Drive Industrial Controller. The Industrial is designed to handle a maximum of 1400 amps and up to a 360 volt nominal battery pack. The unit's rugged design looks and works great in the automotive environment while protecting it from the elements. In addition to higher continuous currents than the classic Warp Drive controller, the Industrial comes with several major enhancements. Liquid cooling is available and uses leak-free and rugged AN fittings. The Industrial controller has complete isolation on both throttle channels, giving the highest possible immunity from situations that might affect the electrical throttle input. High voltage connections are fully protected underneath the sealed cover. Voltage leaks between vehicle chassis and a battery pack are detected, alerting the user to potential safety problems. Controller settings can be completely customized using the NetGain Controls interface module, which can also log data to an onboard SD card. The controller weighs in at 25 pounds. Visit www.ngcontrols.com to order your Warp Drive Industrial Controller now.
So, okay, that's how the...
That's pretty cool. I like that concept. I think that'll work great.
We already showed them the low carbon. Here it is. Well, you got to figure out a way to mount this on this battery box or something through that thing, because I want to be able to make this go without that.
Huh, interesting.
Here is our, what do we call this? LEV 200A5 NAA relay.
Oh yeah, that's right. We've got that one. We've got to have for that Curtis.
Now, for that Curtis 1238 controller, listen to me. Everybody thinks, well, a 12 will work great at 24. The Curtis wants a 24 volt coil, and it won't work
It won't
without
work
that.
without it. No, we found that out.
And you can keep trying all you want,
Yep.
but it's not gonna.
Not gonna work.
And the Gigas and the other ones, they don't work. You need a Tyco LEV 200A5 NAA. It's just a finicky controller.
It is,
That's
yeah.
what it wants. And we have
And they work great with it and will not work without it.
Right.
And we got our body seal too. We do put the body on. We got the
right.
VW seal.
Tell me about this. Hey, Summit guy.
Well, what we did is I just kind of stumbled over this, and a lot of the dune buggy guys use these. This is a line lock, like when you're hill climbing or things like that, so you can just kind of stop the car and not have to use the brake. And it's like our line lock in the Cobra, except this is manual. It doesn't take 12 volts.
Right? Everybody likes the electric ones in the hot rod world. We don't want to have 12 volts to keep it on.
No.
Because we want to use it for a parking brake.
Yeah, and we can just run it so that we can use it from inside the vehicle. I'm just going to run it to the rear brakes, and that'll give us parking brakes. Because in this particular vehicle,
so-
if you look at the placement of that
we got a
parking brake,
problem.
it used to be back here, but remember all of this was in the front. It was behind the shifter, and the shifter was up there where our little our tray is. So we're going to put this in the vehicle, probably right around in here.
Yeah, this is a little, don't miss what he said. Here's where the shifter was originally, with a parking brake behind it. That's how it is in the Porsche Speedster and the 68 VW.
68 VW, yeah.
In doing this, these move the seat into the back seat.
Right.
Move the shifter behind the parking brake.
Yes.
Here's your
Yeah,
firewall. Here's your dash. How anyone would ever reach that parking brake is a mystery to me.
It's amazing. I mean, you'd have to have arms like a gorilla to reach it. It just doesn't make any sense.
It really would.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a little rig here.
Right here. We're put right on the left side where you can get it and run it to the rear brakes.
Let's stick it here somewhere
Yep.
where you can put the body down over it and it'll still work. And yeah, that's kind of our thing. We're trying to get as much on the chassis to work where you don't need the body to make things work.
Right, right.
And then the body will do a harness where you hook it up and now your windshield wipers and your speedometer works.
Right.
And your tail lights, but it doesn't really, I mean, the headlights are even on the chassis. So I want all this to roll basically. And your big problem is going to be the accelerator because it has to be
It has to be up on the firewall.
But maybe you can chop a hole through the firewall, mount it on this battery box, and there you be. How about that?
And we've actually got room on the battery box for heads, don't we? We've got a couple. We've got like a half an inch or an inch.
See, we cock that out a little bit where it's sticking out here. You know, you know, take a look at it. Chop a hole in that
Yeah.
nasty old wood, and yeah, let's get that in there. For now, I'm Jack Rickard for EVTV.
And I'm Brian Noto.
We'll try to finish this next week.
There you go.